as the Stanley Cup has officially been rewarded, now it is full off season for everyone in the NHL, and that means for the Carolina Hurricanes, big things this summer. Could they be going for a center? Could they be going for a winger, or potentially both? We will discuss that today on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes with Tim Donnelly of 99.9 The Fan, and this should be a fun one.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making the first listen of the day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkeyes, the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. But we all know you guys aren't here to listen to me talk. We're here to listen to my guest and get his thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes. As you heard from the top, it is Tim Donnelly of The Drive of Tim Donnelly at 99.9 The Fan, and a former quarterback of Delaware Blue Hens, which honestly, they do a lot better with the winged helmets, but that is just me. Tim, how are you doing? And thank you for coming on the podcast today.
I'm doing great. It's the first day of next year, right? As we're recording this, it's the Cup just wrapped up last night. So I put out the Happy Gilmore GIF. 364 days till hockey tryouts. Like it's time for everybody to go towards next year, which starting when that Eastern Conference Finals wrapped up, I think we've all been waiting for the next season to get started, and it's finally here. I'm done watching the Panthers, as good as they are.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, hey, man, you gotta give credit where credit's due.
You don't have to like it though. I'm it's like, yeah, you guys were really good. I hate that I say that, but got to call a spade a spade. So they're really good. I do like kind of my take on it is I like that it shows the Kane system can work, right? Because the Panthers do so much similar kind of goals and aspirations of how they play. Just shows the Canes have to get, a few more top level dudes that Florida has, and they could be right up there with them.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. I mean, of course, the big debate's been started since after Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Final. It's all right, who do the Hurricanes go after next? And there's been, possible trades, free agency, everything you've seen on social media, from the crazy to the tame to the maybe, and it's been absolutely bonkers. And we are still like a couple weeks away. Thankfully, free agency is not that far away. Drafts right around the corner as well. But I want to ask you, Tim. The big debate that's been going around is, do the Hurricanes focus on the second line center, or do they focus on a top scoring, top six winger? And my thing is, why not both? But where do you stand on this big debate of what's the biggest thing to focus on, wingers or center, or both?
I would say if it's wingers or center, I'm calling this I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan. The Summer of George. To me, it's it's the summer of centers. It's get yourself a center, and it's because there are distractions in the winger category, right? You start talking about some of the names that I'm sure we're going to talk about, and the money that I'm sure we're going to talk about that needs to be spent to get those guys. It's real flashy and it's real fun to talk about. But I mean, we're going on how many years now where you get to the postseason and you're just going, geez, they need a second line center. Or even you get hit a rough stretch in the regular season and you're going, if only they had a second line center. So it's almost like, I mean, if the correct answer is both, right? And you leaned on that. But if you have to pick one, it's center. Like on our show, we're kind of, I don't even know if you've noticed this because you're doing an everyday thing as well. It seems like on social media, every potential addition has their 48-hour period where everybody gets really excited and talks about it. There'll be a leak on Jason Robertson might be available. And then for 48 hours, Canes fans are like, here's how much I'd give for Jason Robertson. And then Mitch Marner, the Canes are going to offer X amount of dollars. And for 48 hours, everyone's like, that's too much. No, it's not enough. No, I'll do it. Oh, you got to overpay. Every single time a winger's 48 hours comes up on social media, my response is the same. If you get a center and that person, I love it. If that's the centerpiece and you don't also get the center, I'm going to feel underwhelmed. So if you can do both, which I think they can, their reserve of resources is dynamic right now.
Right.
But center is where I go first. And then, right, depending on which resources you spend on that, decides how you can kind of attack the winger category. Because I do think, a 40 goal scorer potential guy on the wing is number 2 most important thing for this team that they haven't really had. And then you go, right-handed defenseman, and then probably next offseason when the cap rises, you go goalie. So I don't know. It seems like there's a direct path for me, but Eric Tulsky likes to surprise us. And, if I think there's a carved path down the woods right here, he's going to go like Bear Grylls and climb up the mountain, and then we'll end up at maybe the same spot. But he likes to keep us guessing.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. And that's kind of one of the big thing is when you look at that, because you look at, like you said, you look at the wingers, they're going to be available. There's the free agent center market's okay, but you're kind of thinking you might have to go trade wise. I think the last best 2C the Hurricanes have had was Vincent Trocheck. And at that point, unfortunately, it's just one of the things where he wanted $7 million. The Hurricanes couldn't do it at that time. And you always hear the narrative too, of like, oh, the Hurricanes, fumbled this guy and they fumbled that guy. You're talking about Jake Gensel or Mikko Rantanen. Like, they wanted Gensel. It's just the cap wasn't where it was this upcoming offseason. If they had this cap, hey, they could have brought everyone who left. They could have brought them all back because it costed the same amount of money as the cap space you have, because you got $28.4 million and 21 draft picks over the next 3 drafts. You don't have to keep them. You can use them to your advantage. Because why
28.4 projected is awesome for everything you just said. We're not used to the Canes being in the situation where they can make the decisions based on what they think is best hockey-wise, because there's always been this, it's what can we do best hockey-wise within the constraints of our roster construction. The Jake Gensel thing, I think, is perfect, right? I do think they wanted him back, and I think maybe they could have gotten to his number a little bit faster, but realistically, they had to continue getting the abacus out and figuring if they could make it work. And the other thing about that 28.4 is, right, I think, if we look at the center free agency market, right, it's Tavares is kind of the top, and he's an older guy. If they do end up trading
all of them,
Duchesne, again, another older guy. If you do trade for a center, there might be money coming off the books, right? And then obviously whatever they end up paying. But if you can get somebody to take Kokiniemi as hey, we'll give you the third rounder if you take Kokiniemi or whatever it is, that 28 might end up being 33.5 or whatever it ends up being. Granted, subtracting whatever you're paying the center. So it could end up being even more, which is why I do think both is a possibility, which is so exciting about this offseason.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying too. It's like, if you have to keep Kokiniemi, you could still figure something else around that too. If you move him down the lineup or throw him to the wing, which they've done before, there are avenues to go down. I could definitely see him be a possible trade because everyone's talking about, what if you buy him out? Problem is, Tom Dundon doesn't want to pay a guy almost $900,000 to go play somewhere else for a decade. That's just not the thing. So I do believe if is Kokiniemi leaving, it's going to be him. Probably a high-end prospect and probably some draft picks, which I know we'll talk about later in the show, because I did bring him up in some trades, and people are like, that's not enough, or it's just this or that. It's, like you said, Eric Tulsky does things a lot differently. And honestly, no one saw the Mikko Rantanen trade happening. So when you go to, what the Hurricanes trade for this guy? That team's not going to give him up. No one thought Mikko was available in Colorado trade. And Wayne Gretzky got traded. No one's untouchable in this league. I'm sorry. There are some, maybe that are untouchable, but not everyone is.
I think I genuinely think there's a number on everyone. Now, the difference is the untouchables that you talk about. I think the way you handle that is, all right, tell me what you're offering. And if you tell anybody that I told you to tell me your offer, I will deny it to my grave. Right. It's like until it happens. Like, this conversation never happened, right? This recording will explode in 10, 9, that kind of deal. But I do think everyone has a number. It's a gigantic number that I don't think the Canes should be interested in. But I think McDavid has a number right now. I think everybody has a number. So you brought it up. Gretzky was traded. And part of the beauty of this offseason, and it's, I'm going to say this 700 times on this because I say it 700 times on my show. and I'm sure everyone's tired of it, is the next 2 weeks for the Canes before July 1st when everything kind of hits, or if they pull a trade ahead of time, like right now is the most fun time in fandom because there is nothing that is off the market. Like, obviously we sit around the office and we talk about it nonstop. I want Jason Robertson. That's just kind of my pipe dream, right? My fantasy. Yeah. I want the center first for like X's and O's, and I think that helps the team the most. But I just want Jason Robertson. I think he fits in with the core. My producer Dennis is all in on Tage Thompson. That's his pipe dream, and I'm coming around on it. Whatever. But there are others that want Sam Bennett. I don't even think he hits the market. But after watching him score 15 postseason goals and he has a little edge, they want Sam Bennett. And the cool part is right now, they're kind of all possibilities, right? You have the free agency money, you have the draft picks, you have 6 first round draft picks in the next 4 drafts. You have $28 million in cap space. The cap is going up by $9 million each year for the next couple. Like, everything is a possibility. The way I've been kind of equating it is right now. Again, I don't know why I'm using Seinfeld all the time. But the Seinfeld finale was such a disappointment, right? And it was because but the second to last episode, nobody has hard opinions about. And the difference is you don't write the second to last episode in your own head, right? You're just like, I'm going to tune in and I'm going to watch. But then the last one, you're like, oh, I really hope they go and get some soup. And I really hope the ruffle shirt comes back. And I really hope Jerry and Elaine end up together. And I really hope Kramer becomes a millionaire. And then if all of those things don't happen, you're like, oh, man, that stinks. It's like the writers couldn't do that for all 60 million people that were going to watch the finale because we all wrote different ones in our head. This offseason right now, very few of us are going to get exactly what we want, especially based on what you said with Eric Tulsky, right? It could be a trade with the Chicago or something, right? Because we just don't see it coming. Just the last place you would look. So we're all not going to be happy, but right now it's all still a possibility, right? Whatever you think is position A, whatever you think is goal number 1, they have the resources to make it happen, which is really exciting right now. And it leads to a lot of really fun debates, like the one we just had, right? Like winger or center. It's like, well, the realistic option is like for Jason Robertson, would it cost an arm and a leg, your firstborn, and it's 20% of like all state fair money? Like maybe, but they have it all to spend right now. They could outbid everybody if they wanted to. They have the 5th most cap space next year, but the most among playoff teams. So if a player wants to go somewhere, especially if they have a no movement clause where they can win, Canes are super high. They have a bunch of really good prospects. What was it? Morrow and Nadeau were both AHL all prospects team, which is the first time 2 players in the same system had ever received that award in the same year. So like you got prospects, you got draft picks, you got cap space, you have most of your young core locked up to team friendly long-term deals. Like we kind of get to be like, I don't know, like Mark Cuban at a grocery store right now. like whatever, like if I'm getting a steak, I might as well get the nicest cut of beef because to us right now, we have the cash. Like what's the difference between a $30 steak and a $37 steak to Mark Cuban? Like there isn't one, you know what I mean? So it's really fun right now. And I do think a lot of us are going to be disappointed because we're going to talk ourselves into like this specific move this offseason. And when it goes somewhere else, we might be like, okay, that's solid, but it won't be like exactly what we want.
Right, exactly. And well, you did mention Tage Thompson. There's a bunch of other centers that could be available. So stick around, everyone, and we'll talk about what could the Hurricanes do at the center position here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack is a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works just as hard as you do. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And Tim, you did mention a certain player in segment 1, and I know, I've talked to Dennis before, great guy. And I think Tage Thompson is someone that the Hurricanes should definitely look at. And of course, some people are thinking he's not available. Why would Buffalo give him up? And that goes back to my thing in segment 1. Everyone is available at a certain price. And he does play center. Somehow the Sabres did put him on the wing a little bit in there because it was because of his defense, and his face-off percentage isn't great, which if you look at his face-offs, it's 42.8% last year. For his career, 42.2. There's a lot of centers who struggle on the face-off, but here's the one thing, though. You have Rod Brind'Amour, who's done it, the Selke twice, and you have Jordan Staal, who is one of the hardest guys to beat in the dot. Tage Thompson would be a great option as a 2C, and the thing is, his AAV per year is only $7.142 million, and you've got 5 more years of him. So you could go get him and go get your top winger that you want, because that's some fantastic money for a guy that is tall and who can score goals.
I'm not going to argue with you. There's so many centers out there that when they're brought up, I just think, yeah, but for I don't know, one more first rounder, could you get Tage Thompson? If you're going to spend that much for this guy, why not go get Tage?
Right.
I do think Buffalo has a really hard decision to make. I think they could choose to go one more year with this core, and they're just trying to make the playoffs, right? They just want that streak over, right? The Canes winning the game in the Eastern Conference Finals, and how it felt like, fine, next time we get here, no one's going to mention that the streak is X amount of games.
Right.
They're trying to get that same thing done with the postseason, just so they can show up next year and not have everybody bringing it up. I mean, they bring it up in when they show Jets games in the NFL. They just go to postseason droughts in the big 4 sports, and they're Buffalo's just catching strays. So
essentially, yeah.
So I do think that they will. There's a possibility they go one more year, but again, we talk about how there's kind of these waves in social media. It does seem like they're going to be selling something, right? They've got a few guys that are interesting. If they're selling some of their maybe lesser commodities, I think you can call about Tage. I think you can call about Tuck, and just maybe both.
Paterka.
Yeah, absolutely. Too. That Paterka is one that keeps showing up as every other day. They're either planning on keeping him and making one more run at it, and they're going to pay what they need to pay, versus the next day it's well, actually they're listening to 12 teams that are calling about Paterka, and I'm all right, so they're not sure yet. But if they are selling, I think Tage would be a really good match. And you brought it up. I'm a big Rod Brind'Amour fan. I think it's almost like a sport when people start calling for dumb things about him, and I'm all right, got the time today, let's go.
Trust me, I'm all right, let's see what the nonsense is going to be this time, but why you want to get rid of one of the most successful coaches in Hurricanes history. But go on.
Well, let's find a way where you punish him for making it to the Eastern Conference Finals with teams that shouldn't make it that far, because he doesn't win them once he gets there. But anyway, half of the guys we're going to talk about, and Tage is one of them, Marner is one of them. When people start bringing up their negatives, right, their cons, right, pros and cons, I'm but would that still be there if Rod was staring at him from the sideline? Would that, sometimes softness? I'm going but I just don't see softness surviving a training camp with Rod Brind'Amour. Face-off circle, two-way hockey. It was, he's not a two-way hockey player. I'm but he would be under Rod. I give him credit for turning guys into those kind of players. And I you see it with all the way down the lineup. You see an Eric Robinson have a good season. You see Roslovic start off scoring on fire, but as lost as he is on defense, you can see him trying and he cares. Even though he's lost at times. Guys, once they show up in Carolina, they're different players because they have to be, and because Rod's that good. So like, Tage being 42 or whatever percent you said from the faceoff circle. I'm not saying he's going to be Jordan Staal in a year, but he'll improve, or he'll have hell to pay, and it won't be fun for him, and that's part of the culture.
Yeah, I think they can put him to the wing too, because that's where Buffalo's put. And the Buffalo is going to play a different enigma than what is Carolina. If it doesn't work here, it might work in Carolina, because let's talk about it too. Seth Jarvis, he wasn't really a two-way guy coming out of Portland for the Winterhawks. He comes to Carolina, takes a couple of years, and now he's one of the.
He's getting Selke votes. He's getting Selke votes. Like, it's exactly that kind of. Yeah,
five shorthanded goals. Like he's on the penalty kill for the reason. Like, he plays defense now, and that's the thing. Like, you can make guys learn that system, and it's crazy where it's like, oh, what about Tage Thompson? Then you hear all the negatives, and it's like, hey, what about this guy? Oh, here's all the negatives. Like, another guy I've brought up, Marco Rossi. Minnesota doesn't know if they want to keep him or not, and by AFP Analytics, these guys do really great contract projections on RFAs, UFAs, long-term, short-term. They're projecting his short-term for 2 years at $4.5 million per season, which only takes up 4.76% of the $5.5 million cap they're going to have next year. His long-term, 7 years, 7.389, which only takes up 7.74%. You don't really have to go crazy to get him. Like, unfortunately, for offer sheets, the only thing that you can do is a second rounder, and it's like $4 million, which I think Minnesota could match, or you have to go to 11.7, and it's 4 first. I don't see that happening. So if you go for a trade, at least go get him, and then you hear this negative. Well, he's only 5'10". We don't need any more short kings. I'm like, if the guy can play hockey, size doesn't matter. This league is so skilled. Like, why would you not want to go get Marco Rossi, who's young, who is getting better? Like, it's crazy to me.
I agree and disagree with that one. I do think size matters. I think you can get it cheaper. I think, you can find guys with a little bit of size, more veteran filling guys. But I am also, and this is where, and I actually think it's good. And I think going back to the Kotkaniemi stuff, I think it's good. There are people in the Canes organization that don't look at names; they look at numbers, right? They're not the like, oh, I heard it off the stick and he's got the power that you need to score. They're like, well, actually his shooting percentage from the left side is blah 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 percent. And that kind of what you did with some of the cap numbers you just threw out there. So you have to basically are you ready for this one? Have you seen the movie Draft Day, the Costner movie? It's one of my guilty pleasures.
I want all my first round. I want all my first back.
Yeah.
It's this guy and nothing else. Yeah, I'm from Northeast Ohio, so trust me, we've all seen.
Okay, perfect.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right. So I quote like the smartest sports movie in Moneyball and the dumbest sports movie in Draft Day all the time. Draft Day, there's a point where they have the number 1 pick and they're looking at Bo Callahan, who's the all-world quarterback, and the take is like, what's wrong with him? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what? Like, and he went, John Elway threw the ball too hard. He didn't have any touch, but it just didn't matter. Peyton Manning couldn't throw it 60 yards, didn't have the arm strength, but in the end, it just didn't matter. Find out what is wrong with this guy and then tell me if it matters. So, like, I think being a small guy is something, like, it could be what's quote unquote wrong with a player. Right. But for some guys, it just doesn't matter. Seth Jarvis, he's tough as nails. It just doesn't matter. Logan Stankoven plays like he's 6'7". He might be 5'7". It just doesn't matter. So, like, a guy like Rossi, if you don't like him because he's short, okay, but tell me why it matters. Like, where on the ice is he being pushed around because he's smaller, right? What, like, is he afraid to go net front presence because he's small? Can you not play him on a PK or a penalty? Like, what is it that is actually holding him back because he's 5'10"? Because, I have seen guys struggle because they're smaller, but I've also seen guys be smaller and it just doesn't matter. So I like Rossi. I don't know if he's near the top of my group here, but I mean, he fulfills center. Like, if it's Rossi and one of these flashy wingers that's gonna change everything,
Yeah.
Then
Or
you filled, you filled second line center, and you get to go get the flash somewhere else. I'm cool with that. I mean, how many years are we going to be going? Kokaniemi's not playing well, so we're going to see Jankowski with the second line. Oh, Kokaniemi's having a Kokaniemi game, so Roslovic is drawing in the lineup and is going to be centering Svech and Taylor Hall, and you're just like, that can't be good for Svech and Taylor Hall. So get the second line center. If it's Rossi, if it's Thompson, if it's one of even if you go veteran and you get a 36-year-old on a 2-year deal, whatever it is, get second line center, and then you can build up all the flashy stuff.
Yeah, so you mentioned the veteran guys. Let's say, they don't go get Tage, they don't go get Rossi, all these guys, and they look at a Tavares or a Duchesne, or I even said Michael Granlund would be good too. It just depends on what the money, how much, because he's 33. What's his ask, and does he want to stay in Dallas, or does he want to go back to San Jose, which he's known for? If you look at those veterans, what veteran center would you be like, I can be okay with this for 2 seasons with?
Everyone you mentioned there, I think Granlund's going to stay because they're going to have a bunch of money to spend because Robertson's coming to the Canes.
Hey, I'll be okay with it. Why not?
Wishful thinking. I actually think you could, I'm going to answer both for all of your questions. I think you could throw a Duchesne in there on a 2-year and keep your eye on Tage Thompson for if and when Buffalo starts 7 games below 500 in the first month. I don't think it's super often that centers of that caliber become possible at the deadline, but I think with Buffalo it might, because they're going to go, all right, we gave it one more go. Let's get as much as we possibly can and burn this thing to the ground. So if you do pick up one of those centers, like the ones you mentioned, Granlund, Tavares, on and on and on a 2-year deal, and it's not, $9 million a year.
No.
I'm not saying those guys would be worth it. I'm saying anyone, as long as it's not $9 million, you can save a bunch of the cap that you have with the expectation that at the deadline you can spend it, right? The money doesn't have to be spent right now, and it would be lovely. And with the proration, you wouldn't even have to have, $10 million on the cap for a $10 million player. You could have, 6 and be able to afford darn near anyone at the deadline.
The Hurricanes have deferred money before. It's not unheard of for them to go do that. So it does make sense as well.
So there's I think, as they've proven the last 2 years, you can find a scoring winger at the deadline, because most teams when they start selling, start going, all right, let's sell the wings before the centers. But if you make the right offer, it could happen there. So taking a veteran and keeping your eyes open for the team that went for it and kind of tanks early, that might be another option to not only solve your issue for now, but solve your issue long term. And then for at least the 2 years, you got, for the first time in my time following the Canes, an overload of centers, right? You got I think Mark Jankowski is the best 13th forward possible. Because he can play wing, he can play center, he brings size, he can kill penalties. The way I've been describing it is, if Jankowski's your 13th forward, you're never rushing anyone back from injury. You're actually a little excited when someone tweaks a groin and you're like, oh, he's going to be out for 2 weeks. We get Jankowski for 2 weeks. All right. It just shows a little different thing there. So if you had Aho 1, eventually whoever you trade for, we'll call it Tage just to placehold 2. Stahl will never be anything but your 3, even if I think it would be awesome if he's playing 4th line minutes, because that group could be dynamic there. And then whatever veteran you brought in to be your 2 center, it was replaced by Tage, down at your 4th. Now you're talking about, you're sending waves like the Florida Panthers kind of sent at you, where all 4 lines are expected to be elite, and that's pretty darn good.
Yep, no, 100%. And like you said, it's one of those things where you could go do both, and depending where you go on from there, then it's now your focus is on wingers. And everyone, stick around, and we'll talk about what wingers could the Hurricanes look at here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. We've mentioned a lot of wingers so far this episode, And now let's dive into the nitty-gritty of like, all right, who could be potentially on the table for the Hurricanes to go after? I know you've talked about Jason Robertson. I think he'd be a really great addition. Nikolaj Ehlers is going to be available, and now apparently the Jets might try to keep him. There's also talks of Brock Besser. Could he be someone that the Hurricanes go after? And then, of course, everyone knows the big fish in Mitch Marner. Is he worth a 13.5? Is he worth $14 million? Is he going to fit the Hurricane system? Because they always talk about his playoffs, which, by the way, 63 points in 70 playoff games is actually pretty good. And he had 13 this past year in 13 games. But let me ask you, Tim, I know you were super huge on Robertson. If you could go with him or Marner or whoever else, who do you think the Hurricanes should definitely go after this offseason to fill that top 6 winger that we definitely need to bolster this group?
I think the 2 best fits are the 2 guys you just mentioned. Robertson, I acknowledge, is a longer shot just because if I'm Dallas, no. But and then Marner is like, he's going to hit the market. So you don't have to convince anybody but Marner. But I also think, going back, combining all of our conversations, however you fill the center spot, meaning if you fill the center spot in free agency, you probably have to trade for your top end winger. Right. Although with 28, you could do both, 28 million cap space. If you trade for a center, then I don't think you're trading for a top end winger, just because like I understand they have a lot of picks and prospects. I don't want to give them all up in one off season. So then you're probably going free agency, which would be more the Marner path. So like, I'm not going to sit here and be picky and say like, I want Marner and not Robertson, or I want Robertson and not Marner. I think they're both very good. The only like, and actually you can, I'll throw this one back at you. I think Marner and Aho are really similar, just as like dudes, and as kind of outlook. And this all started. It's not the best analytic in the world, but I was on Hockey Reference, and I was just kind of scrolling through Marner's page, which is, again, it's whatever. But they have similarity scores. And which is just, based on their careers or whatever, who are the most similar players statistics. And the number 1 for Marner was Aho. And up until that point, I was kind of all in on Marner. And for whatever reason, that lodged into my head of like, I love Aho. I think he's an underrated superstar. I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves because we want our superstars to like demand shots. And we can't fathom how a playoff game can go by with a superstar with no shots on goal. It just doesn't make sense to us. We want like Kobe Bryant, right? Like a shot with 3 guys guarding me is better than a shot from you wide open. But Aho will never think that way. I do think the Canes might benefit from one of those dudes though. Like just a black hole who's like, listen, everybody on this team is so darn unselfish. They're going to get 7 passes off before an empty netter, like we saw in the postseason. And everybody is so into 2-way hockey, which is awesome. And everybody is so into back checking and putting their body on the line. And you have Seth Jarvis, all, whatever size of him, blocking shots like with his hand and just being like a gangster about it and being like, ow, and keep playing. Like, I kind of want someone who's just selfish and is like grew up watching Ovi rather than like Sydney, you know what I mean? Just like I'm over here in the left face-off circle, and when you get me the puck, don't expect it back. I'm shooting it, which is not Marner. Like Marner's not that dude. He doesn't have a whole bunch of 40-goal seasons. Robertson does have a couple, which is why I lean Robertson, but Marner, I mean, Marner's good. Let's not complicate it. Part of it's probably price. Part of it's probably what is realistic and what Tulsky can make happen. But like even somebody like Ehlers, like Nikolaj Ehlers, who you brought up, all of these have the same answer, which is, did they get a center too? Like, how would you feel if they signed Ehlers? Well, did they get a center too? Because if they got a center too, I love Ehlers. Then it's a potentially 30-goal scorer that does things the Canes way and fits in, and it's great. If they didn't get a center, then I'm like, all right, Ehlers being centered by Kokaniemi. What does that do for me? Ehlers being centered by Roslovic or some other fill-in guy. Like, what does that do for me? So if they get the center, I'm all in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like you can go for however you want, but you have to make sure you're filling all the needs that you have. And Tulski's even said it. We're not going to be reckless with the cap. And yeah, you're going to have 95.5. Yeah, you're getting 104, possibly more after that. But you can still go and spend the cap. You can still go use your draft picks. You don't have to, blow up the future or blow the bank out, but you can still at least go utilize it. Like, why shortchange yourself?
My thing is, with their situation and all of, like, they worked hard to stockpile all of this, right? They protected certain prospects in previous trade negotiations. They obviously in the Mikko deal, and there, we've since learned that there were other three-way trade conversations involving Marner and Mikko, and we've learned whatever. Like, they chose the deal that they got from Dallas for a reason, right? And it appears like Rod was super high on Stankoven. Boom, make it happen. And then those first-round picks are those first-round picks for a reason. What was the guy? Ponomarev, who was a prospect for a second, was part of the Gensel deal.
And he's going back to Russia.
He just signed a 3-year deal with the KHL. So it's like, boom, you picked and I know that they were never entertaining with some of the bigger names there. Pono maybe was bigger in like sizzle than he was in like actual prospect value, but they picked the right one to send, right? He's already back in Russia. Like, they picked the right one to send in that deal. So they've protected all of this. They've worked very hard to have it. It's given them the option if you think the difference maker is there. I hate to use them as examples, but if you look at what the Florida Panthers have done, a lot of their dudes were acquired in trades. And a lot of their dudes were acquired in that's a big deal. But it's if you think you're that guy away, right, then you can call up. The Canes can call up right now and say, what's the eBay? What's the buy now price? Like, I don't want to be a part of an auction. What's the buy now price? Just so we know. And if you want it, you think it's reasonable, maybe it's not reckless, but it's above conservative, you can just say, deal, done. Here you go. The two craziest trades outside of the NHL recently, the Luka trade and the Rafael Devers trade, both were reportedly not shopped. They were not they traded Luka and they traded Rafael Devers, and the reports are that the selling team didn't call up 15 teams and say, hey, I'm thinking about selling them. The buying team met their price and got the buy, and obviously they're both steals, but you don't have to be a part of some kind of a bidding war when you have what the Canes have. You can just call up and say, if I want this deal announced by Elliot Friedman and Pierre LeBrun in 20 minutes, what's the price? And then they can pay it. Obviously, then you have to decide if it's worth it or not. But if it's the difference between, finally winning the Eastern Conference Finals and not, nobody's going to call up and go, oh, you threw in another second-round pick? You can't overpay if it's the guy.
Right. Well, the thing is, if you want to go get Robertson, hey, Dallas, we have your 2 firsts, you have your 2 firsts and your 2 thirds. Do you want some of them back because your draft capital is not maybe where it's at? Boom, there you go. And I just thought of this, and I want to get your opinion on this. You can go get your center. Let's say you go get your Duchesne at a decent price of maybe $3 or $4 million, but maybe you go get not 1 but 2 wingers, like you said, in a trade or free agency. Why not trade your picks to go get Robertson? Go spend your big money and go get yourself Marner. Boom, there you got Robertson and Marner, and then you got possibly a Duchesne or some veteran center that you can throw in for a couple of years that's not going to break $5 million. Then it's 14. I think it's under 8 for Robertson, then probably 5. You figure out the cap from there, but why not?
This is the thing I say 700 times. It's all possible based on what they have. It's you can't tell me. I mean, my whole thing is the summer of centers. But Marner and Robertson, I'll go shoot. I'll play center on that line. You know what I mean? I'll just get the heck out of the way. Is that going to happen?
But you never know.
Is that going to happen? Likely no. but you have all of it, so it's fun, really, really fun to talk about, as unlikely as it is. You were saying something, and I wanted to jump in, but I lost. I got too distracted by Marner and Robertson, and like the fantasy hockey version of that I kind of I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things where you can still go get that center, you can still go get that guy, but you got the draft picks. Like I said, I think it was probably
right. I got it. Sorry. Yeah, it's sparked. the Dallas picks. I've talked myself into this mattering way more than it does, but those the Dallas picks, the 2026, 2028 picks the first round picks that you got back are top 10 protected. So if they're in the top 10, which they won't be because Dallas is good, but if they are, they convey to the next year, which would be 2027 and 2029. So Dallas can't even trade the 2027 or 2029 picks that they still own on the off chance that they have to convey those to Carolina because the other ones are top 10 protected. So they're in cap space hell, by the way, over there in Dallas.
Yeah, even Colorado's got like $1 million left, and they have a lot of other guys they got to deal with too. So,
so even if they're in a situation where they want to trade somebody that's a little bit more overpriced away, or they want to do a bigger package deal and they want to include first round picks, they can't use the ones that they have. So by trading for the first round picks from the Canes back to them, they not only get their 2026 and 2027 or 2028 picks back, they get access to use their 2027 and 2029 picks back, which is why those picks are worth more to Dallas than anyone else in the league. Thus, Jason Robertson. It always comes back to Jason Robertson. Again, I don't think this matters 50,000%, but I've talked myself into it mattering more than it should.
Oh, no, I'm totally agreeing with you. I was gonna, if you are Dallas, you were thinking, okay, if we can convince Carolina to give us our first back, all right, here you go. Here's Jason Robertson and whoever. You could even get crazy and go trade for Wyatt Johnson if you really want to go get that second line center. You don't even have to go get Robertson. Go get your second line center and then go get your Marner and whoever else. Yeah, they just extended him, but like I said, everyone is listening is probably going like, "How's this possible? It makes no sense." Hey. Nothing ever makes sense. It's the NHL. Anything can happen. Like
that's why these next 2 weeks are fun. It's not the time to be realistic, right? When last year, I always use 2 years ago as an example because they returned everyone and plus Dmitry Orlov and Bunting, and that was the only change. And I was like that offseason. No offense to Orlov, because he was like he was the crown jewel of the defensive guys that offseason.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fun offseason because there was like one thing they could do and they did it. So they're like, what the ridiculousness. And I want to acknowledge everybody, especially those that don't listen to my show. So they're just like, who's this guy that's like throwing out, let's get all the all-stars on the Carolina Hurricanes. And oh, by the way, you're not going to have to give up any of the good guys on the Canes. Like, I understand the prices are high, but like this is the fun part. I like every single day, somebody on Twitter sends me a screenshot of one of those trade calculators. And it's like turning the Canes into, we had to give up Morrow, Piotr, 4 first-round picks, Svech, Kokaniemi, but
Nadeau, and all those guys.
Unger Sorum, just on and on and on and on down the list. But we got 4 all-star wings coming back, and all of them scored 40 goals last. And I'm just like, I don't know what this calculator is. But I'm going to sit here and evaluate it, and I'm 100% going to have my 7 minutes of fun at my desk. And I don't think they can legitimately like field a team after this. But you're going to have 8 really good skaters, and then they might be coming down here to like find someone to skate on the 4th line. But and I mean when I say down here, I mean like to the fans. But it's fun. Yeah. It's just a good time right now. And by the way, like one of them is going to happen. Right, we're going to be excited about 7,000 things. One of them is going to happen. Don't get discouraged, because the other thing I'm seeing is, it's not going to happen. It's like that's like the off season's not going to be as fun as I thought it was going to be. Like we already got people already. Like, we're not even there yet, and it's like, oh, this off season is going to stink. The Hurricanes are not going to do anything. I'm like, guys, we haven't even hit July yet. Like, pump the brakes a little bit on the Hurricanes are going to they're going to screw this up somehow, and it's like,
Give the
This
guys
dude
a chance
in
so he
his
can get there.
this dude, Eric Tulsky, in his first year as GM, traded for Mikko Rantanen and traded away Mikko Rantanen. I think he's going to have something up his sleeve this offseason.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it.
He is fearless, which by the way is right, because I don't want to say I teased him, but he brought it up in his introductory press conference when he took over for Don Waddell. He said, like, I'm not a calculator, right? Like, I'm not going to make decisions with a calculator. I kind of like that he has, if he's not making decisions with a calculator, I don't know, 50% of it or whatever is the calculator, because it gives you confidence to make those big swings when you have something tangible to point to and go, no, this increases our chance of winning a cup by 17%. And I don't know what the hell you input into that equation to get there, but it gives you the power to make those moves and be confident about them. Because, you know, the way I operate, and this, you know, you mentioned I played football. Like I feel I'm kind of like I'm talking football now. Hockey, I do not pretend to be like I can't watch an AHL game and go like, that guy's a future top 6 forward. I let smarter people make those decisions and then I kind of fill in. But for football, I am like I can watch and I think I know, and you know, that guy, maybe his completion percentage is low, but he's accurate just because I know, or, you know, there's higher potential there. I think it's harder to pull the trigger on big deals there because you're like, if I'm wrong, I just had to tell everybody that I went with my gut and I was wrong. If you're wrong, but you have some advanced analytic that you can point to, you go, oh, here's why I made the decision that I made. Drawn out, easy. Like, let me explain to you what this number means. Like, you know, it didn't happen, but, you know, there was a 72% chance that it would work out. And I thought that was a good, like, it's, I don't know, just give you something to point to. So, like, Tulsky's going to do something. Is he going to do any of the things we talked about? Likely not in specifics, but it might be one part of that deal. He might save some cap space for the reason we talked about, like, you know, hey, a Buffalo might be selling at the deadline, even if they're not now. He might go get Marner for everything we talked about, because I think one of the coolest science experiments is, what does Marner look like with Rod Brind'Amour scowling at him from the bench? Like, I think that's a really fun deal. Maybe they get Marner, they save some cap space, and they grab a vet center. And, like, we didn't discuss that specific scenario, but in all of our scenarios, like, that was in that one, that was in that one, that was in that one. So there's unlimited options, and it's fun as heck. Like, I want to emphasize that. You don't become a sports fan to be miserable. Granted, when you lose $1 billion to nothing in a, you know, to go down 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals, it doesn't feel good. But this, like, the off season it's a good time. Like, the world is our oyster. So, like, it's crazy to me that already they're like, I'm starting to think the off season is not going to be what we hoped it was. And I'm going, maybe not, but why the heck would you resign yourself to that now? If the off season isn't what we think it is, 5 months from now, we'll be complaining about it. Right now, I'm not going to just resign to it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, we've got a lot of draft capital, prospects, this, that, and the other. We all know Eric Tulsky and the front office are going to get the job done. It's just how they're going to get there. Well, only time will tell. But I have to thank Tim Donnelly for joining me today. And just, it's been a lot of fun. And make sure to check his show out. And Tim, before I let you go, where can people find you on social media? Where can they find your show? And do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
First of all, thank you for letting me promo. 99.9 The Fan radio station in the Triangle every afternoon, 3 to 6. Social media, Twitter is probably where I do my most Canes talk. So at Donnelly Sports on Twitter. We're building a cool YouTube community. So 99.9 The Fan on YouTube.
100%. Really, that's where I watch most of your Canes stuff. So absolutely awesome. So
appreciate that. And that's not just me. That's Adam Gold, who, if you're a Canes fan, you know, Canes Corner, all that stuff. So check it out. Subscribe while you're there. Tell your friends. Appreciate the opportunity to plug. The final thoughts. I feel like it's like what the old Jon Stewart, like, moment of Zen, or SVP, one big thing. My final thought is, I'll go with this. I want a killer on the Canes. I think a lot. Like I said, I love Aho. I love Jarvis. Everybody does. I think Stankoven has a little bit of this. I think one of the things they've been missing the last couple of years are someone who is awesome on your team, but you'd hate to play against. They all seem really nice, which, like, as humans, like, their parents should all be proud. They're all raised really well and respectful and everything else. Right when moms and dads come to the game, like, that's a good group of parents. I think you want one guy that was, like, kicked out of high school, and that might not be the best way. Or the
you want the Brad Marchands. You want a Brad Marchand on your team who's everyone loves him on your team, but you hate him on that team.
And exactly. The way this isn't my quote, and I forget who it was, but I've been using it a lot. So whoever's quote it is, congrats. You can't win with a team full of milk drinkers. You need someone that drinks whiskey. So, I'm not saying it has to be the high priced guys, right? You go get the best hockey playing center, the best hockey playing scoring forward you can, but maybe for $4 million, on the third defensive pair or whatever, or on the fourth line, you go get a dude that drinks whiskey. That is kind of my side quest of the offseason. There's a lot of main quests, then the side quest is go get somebody that Canes fans will love, but other teams will hate. And there's a lot of those guys around the league that Canes fans hate. Like, get one of those. And it doesn't have to just be a fighter or whatever, but if it wants to be a fighter, like, I'm cool with that. Because as we saw, and Taylor Hall said it, like, it was a bad look when Aho and Svech were getting pushed around and everything, and nobody was coming to their defense. If you need to go get that guy, go get that guy.
No, I mean, perfectly said. They always said you need a little P&V. You need the sandpaper finish. Line up, go get that guy as well. But like I said, everyone go check out Tim's show. It's absolutely amazing on 99 The Fan. Check out his YouTube, all that stuff. And you might get some great quotes and some great gifts on Twitter as well. But like I said, Tim, thank you so much for taking the time. I know we ran a lot longer, but this was a fantastic conversation talking everything about Carolina Hurricanes. But guys, this will be the Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NHL Podcast. There is no offseason, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matters most with the local coverage that you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or listen to the podcast. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. Also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin, where I do have link trees in my bio where you can check out all my written content at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my other podcast, it's the Search Cast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, well, Locked On Hurricanes is on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star review because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes. Follow, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up, tell me if you like it as well. Share with other Canucks to become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Big thank you to Tim. Everyone enjoy your Thursday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.